I'm Jack Kingsbery from Christian City, Texas, and I was stationed in the Air Force and went to Air Force in 1942 and went to England in 1944. It's Norwich, Horton St. Faith at Norwich, in Norwich, England. As actually went there as an engineer gunner on the B-24 bombers for the bomb crew. When I got there, they found out that I had a little touch of asthma, so I was grounded from combat. So I was immediately assigned as crew chief on the big B-24 4-engine B-24 Liberator bomber. And the crew chief is the one who takes care of the airplane all the time it's on the ground. When it lands, we take care of it, and whatever needs to be done to it, you repair it and fix it and fill it up, ready for a mission the next day. So that was my position there for 20 months at Horton St. Faith in Norwich, England.
Can he take over now?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah. Could you describe to me a typical bombing mission?
For what now?
A typical bombing mission?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. A typical mission that you would go out on.
He didn't go out on missions. He
See, I didn't go on any
grounded.
mission.
Okay.
I was, that's what it's just as you say, I was grounded from combat.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of the airplane. I was the crew chief. I was the title. You're in charge of the airplane from the time it lands until it takes off on the next mission. So that's what my position was. I did not fly combat in England or in DTO.
What was it like on the base? Life on the base?
I'm so sorry.
I don't think he can hear you. So I'll come in. I've got a louder voice. I'll ask you his questions. Okay. Elliot's asking, have you got any memories of what it was like on the base?
Well, I really have lots of memories. It was really interesting there. We had that base now. Horton St. Faith was an old English base that had been used by the English Air Force. So we had pretty good barracks there. We had a good mess hall, and had two big hangars there where we could do some of our work. Most of it was done outside, in the outside, but we did have two hangars. We could do some work. It was kind of long in those hangars, so we were fortunate. We had good barracks and we had a good mess hall.
Okay, so you had lots of friends. You were...
Yes, I had a close lot of the people there in the Army Air Force were friends. Then I grew up on a farm and a ranch, but I would go visit my neighbors. That's a farming area around Norwich there. And I would go to the farms and visit those people there, and got to see how they showed me how they did their farming, and I tell them how we did ours back in the States. And it was really interesting and meeting those people, and they would invite me to dinner and meals, and they were so nice, and I just enjoyed them. So I had about 3 families there. So when I was back there at Norwich 2 years ago, last year, when I went to visit some of them, two of the 3 families.
And you say you're still in touch with them?
No, we just for some reason didn't stay in touch. I just knew who they were and so forth. And they remembered me and so forth. No men did.
I bet they did.
Could you ask me how different their culture was?
Elliot's asking me to ask you, was there a great difference in your culture? Did you feel a great cultural difference between, the way you'd been brought up and the way that people were being brought up in England, or the different?
Well, it was kind of hard.
values?
It was kind of hard to tell. I grew up in a wonderful family. My mother had graduated from the University of Texas with a major in mathematics and a minor in English. She did that when she was barely 19 years old. And she was, you may not be familiar with Emily Post, but she was what we call the Emily Post of her time. She wanted you to have good manner, take your hat off in the house, and be real polite to people and things like that. And my 2 brothers and I grew up under those conditions.
So did you think it was a bit sloppy then in Norfolk?
No, not particularly.
So, what's your next question?
What did you do after the war?
Oh.
What did I do after the war?
After the war, what happened to you when you...
Okay, so when I got back from the war, my 2 brothers and I were all 3 in the service during World War II, so there were a lot of things on the ranch that needed to be taken care of. So when I got out, I was helping my dad work cattle and ride young horses that we raised horses besides cattle and so forth. And so one of the first things I did, which just kind of turned out to be very negative, I was breaking this young 3-year-old mare, and breaking it, when I say breaking them, you teach them to ride. You learn, you get on them and teach them to ride. And this mare, I was going pretty good, been riding about a week, and it rained a little bit the night before. He and I was, this was the mare, We were riding out through the pasture pretty early in the morning, and a big jackrabbit jumped up right in front of her and scared her. She started pitching, wheeling and pitching, and her front feet went out from under and fell on the right side, and I immediately threw my leg up to try to keep from getting caught under there, but it didn't, and I heard a pop just like a shotgun going off. And then when she got up, my foot was caught through the stirrup. And she went going out through the pasture, dragging me under her with that foot in the stirrup. And she hit, and a big mesquite tree, which is the kind of tree we have there, great big, and this was a tall one there with limbs out for the house. She ran off. I started going right over. I was hanging on I was under on the right side. She was kicking at me under there, you know, she was running. And she started on the right side, but she kind of ducked to the left side and kind of threw me around when that stirrup leather wrapped around that tree. Well, my foot came up there, but it broke the stirrup. This leather came off, and I fell there. And when it did, I looked down, there was blood coming out of my pants right here. I pulled my boot off, pulled my pants up, and there the bone sticking out, right there. So I knew I had to do something. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and bleeding real bad, so I had a cowboy shirt on, a ducky made out of heavy, kind of heavy. I took my pocket knife and cut this part off right here, put it around my leg, took my pocket knife, always carried a big pocket knife, tied it real tight to stop the blood. So I lay out there all day. It was cold, rainy, and so forth. Lay out there all day, and that afternoon, about 5 o'clock, there was an old rancher that had a ranch down below us. There was a little lane going on there, and he, every Friday, he came along there to check on his cattle. So I saw him come in, so I waved him my hat, you know. I wasn't too far from the fence. I told him to tell Daddy to get the ambulance to come to bring a stretcher, because the heavy net wire fence, you know, and he had to get me over that. So in about an hour, well, here came the ambulance, and 2 men on middle mode came across and got me on the stretcher and carried me across the fence, carried me to the hospital to get my legs set. They had to put steel plates on it.
So just after the war?
That's right after the war.
So you survived the war and then went home and nearly got killed?
Yeah. Then another time I was working my cattle, working my horses, riding them, and with the load of horse, I had to put a rope around his neck to lead him in the trailer. And he kind of backed off, he was a little bit scared about loading him. And the loop dropped down, I tied it in from the loop around his neck. It dropped down in front of me, and as I stepped down out of the trailer, this loop dropped down. And first thing, the horse backed up about 40 feet, that zone in there, and all of a sudden I was jerked down. Looked down, and this rope was right around my leg right here. And dragging me through the pasture. And heavy, it was during the drought of the 50s, and heavy brush and so forth, and I just finally got it in my pocket, reached in my pocket, and got my pocket knife. Finally got it open. We was hitting big old heavy bushes and picked a pear and so forth. And 2 friends was with me. They was in a pickup, and I always carried a 30-30 rifle in the pickup. And one of them ran and got that rifle. He was going to try to take a shot at that horse. Well, he might hit me, but he thought the only way to save my life was to shoot the horse. But anyhow, I got my knife out and I got it open. I cut one, and about just like getting ready to cut, we hit a big bush, and that knife almost fell out. But wasn't about that much the blade sticking out. So we cut again, and this time when I saw those manila ropes has 3 strands in it. Cut down, I saw one strand go like that, and then I cut again and another one. I felt better because I hit something solid, but it was the third one to break. So then I cut it, and I was free from Lord.
How long did that take, that whole?
I went about 400 yards, between 300 and 400 yards, dragging through the brush. Had to pick the pear. Those pick the pear. I know you don't know what they are, but they're a big leaf like that, and they got little thorns all over them, and they were sticking in them in. So we went ahead and caught the horse we were supposed to, and 2 horses, and carried them on. Then they carried me back to the ranch. And Evelyn, I took a bath, and Evelyn took the little thorn out of him. And his legs hurt real bad right here. So she took me to the hospital, and they x-rayed that, and a little bit of chipped bone was right there, but not anything bad. But I survived that.
You are a survivor, aren't you?
I'm a survivor.
Because we're mainly interested, I suppose, in the American Air Force Airmen's reunion here today.
Yes, right.
So, have you met people that you were?
I've met 2 men here that was with that was at Horse and Sand Face when I left there, Hadn't seen them since, hadn't had any contact with them, but they remembered me. And so I got to, and then of course we stopped to compare a lot of things. They knew that, and I was the crew chief on 2 different airplanes, and they remembered the names of the airplanes. Well, the second one had a name, the first one didn't have a name. But the second one was called the Shack, and it had a picture of an outhouse on it with 2 wings on it, you see, and so forth. And a little half moon, you know, you put on the front door of an outhouse, and that's what it was called, the Shack. You should have brought that picture. I've got the picture of it.
Oh, I wish you had.
Could you tell me a little bit about the nose art paintings that were on the airplanes?
Well, they were a little bit on the, too much on the side, you know. They'd have women with very little clothes on, you see, lots of them did. I didn't particularly want that, so I didn't have that on my plane. But a lot of them didn't. I used to have a lot of pictures of those paintings, and let a fellow have them, he's supposed to send them back to me, and never did. I really reserved for that, because they had a lot of good pictures of those that were painted on the side. So.
Who painted the pictures?
Well, there'd be somebody there that was pretty good. And see, that was a group, and the group had 4 squadrons, so there were a lot of men there in the outfit, you know, and there'd be 1 or 2 that were good artists, you know, and they'd paint those pictures. They were some really good pictures, well painted.
Did you ever get in trouble for painting?
No, there wasn't any, evidently that was accepted, you know. Those women without any clothes on, that was accepted, you know, back in those days, and so on that, so that was all right. But they were all the ones that they put on there had the perfect figure. They beautiful breasts, you know, and they're just slim and all that, you know. They were just perfect there. When you paint them out, you can make them just like you want them, but if you raise them, well, sometimes they don't turn out that way. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. You got any other questions you want to ask?
I don't really see such a compromise.
Yeah, okay. I would just ask, just normal life on the base. You know, your job. Obviously, the planes come in. Well, you hope they come in.
That was always something we really do sweat that out. I'll use that term because that's what we sweat it out, because you don't know whether your plane's going to come back or not. You see your plane leave, you know the crew well, you tell them goodbye. Away they go with a big bomb load. And back in when I first went there, you know, we got a lot of opposition, resistance there after fighter planes. Germany had some good fighter planes with Messerschmitt 109, and then they had the flak, you know, that they would shoot up there. And so the fighter planes had their big cannon, 20 millimeter cannon, I think, beside a machine gun. So you didn't know where your plane was going to come back. Fortunately, none of my planes that I was crew chief on was ever shot down. So my crew always came back.
Lucky child.
Yeah, you must have a lot of luck about you.
Well, it was just luck, I'll tell you for sure. My first airplane that I crew chiefed on went for 50 missions. The first plane in the group to fly 50 missions over enemy territory. And then it came back on the 50th mission. They took pictures of it and interviewed me and sent the information back to the local paper there, and it was published in the paper, you know, those pictures of me and my crew there. 50 combat missions over enemy territory, first one in the group.
Do you remember the date?
No, that would have been sometime in early 45 or late 44.
But did the planes come back damaged? You had to fix them?
Oh yeah, lots of times they'd come back. They would have flak holes in them, and sometimes the engine would be out, and we'd have to repair that. And we needed the plane so bad that you immediately start working on repairing it as soon as it landed. But the crew, I had 3 men. There were four men in the crew. I was the crew chief and had 3 mechanics we did the work. And we fought in there, and they had repaired engines in the sub depot there. So you just go get one that already been repaired, you know, and replace it and take one off and put it on there.
So they had plenty of spare parts.
We had to work all night, you know, to get on there, and after you put a new engine on, you had to test fly it. It had to be flown at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes at 5,000 feet. And so this is how it got ready. It was a lady that had two ladies there that were nurses there, and we got a base hospital and had the nurses there. And so I knew one of them's brother at Texas A&M, so we got to be pretty friendly, you know. So I knew his family, you know, through this brother. And so she had a good friend there, so she called me one day, came out to see me. She said, Sergeant Kingsbery, said, my friend and I here want to go up on a flight, doing a test flight around there, you know, just to fly, you know, and so forth. I said, well, when I got a plane, I'm going to change the engine on it, so when I get ready to fly in a couple of days, well, I'll let you know, and then you can go up on it. So I got ready to go, and going to fly the next morning, so I told her about a cigarette. I told her, get ready, you and your friend, and you need to go by the operations office and tell them that you're going to fly, go up on a test flight, just to get to ride. You get your parachutes, and to go both ways, you have to get your parachute. So I said, be out there at 9 o'clock in the morning. So the next morning I was there, of course, had the plane all ready to go, and here came the crew that was going to test flight, not the conductor, the test flight. They got there, and then about then, these two girls came out, they brought out in a Jeep. They had their parachutes, which was the harness, and then we had the harness, and then the parachute itself, and then the pack, that this square was hooked on, you just hook it into 2 rings there when you got ready to jump out. You didn't wear it all the time, you see. So anyhow, well, they had that. And so these men, the test crew, was started putting their harness on, and this big wide strap about that big, it goes over your shoulder, around your waist. One goes down, two straps go down behind you there, and then you catch them and pull them up and strap them in the strap right there, real tight. You have to have it real tight because when you bail out of that airplane, that thing hit that when that chute opened, you know, it's a tremendous force there, you see. So these men, the test crew, were putting their harness on, and these 2 girls were standing there, and they looked at us, go ahead and get them on there. So they put them on over their shoulder, put it around their waist and tightened them. And they had, back in those days, the nurses wore skirts down at just about this low, below the knee. And so they reached down there to get those straps behind them and started to pull them up. So they'd push the skirt down, and back in those days, the girls were more modest than they are now, so they would push the skirt down, and they just found it. And I don't think we can make it. I said, come on, girls, y'all will make it fly. It'll be all right. And I helped them a little bit on that. And they'd pull that thing up, had put both straps real tight between the legs, and they'd push the skirt down, you know, and finally they got on the airplane, and they took a flight. When they got back, as soon as they landed, they took the harness off immediately. And so they thanked me for them go through. They really enjoyed the flight, and I made this tape. This story was published in the Air Division publication. I said one thing that we airmen learned that those 2 nurses really had pretty legs. That's what he was story. We learned they really had pretty legs.
That's a lovely story. It really is, because it's a story of its time, isn't it? It really is. Women didn't really wear jeans then, not in England.
No, I didn't see anybody wearing jeans. In fact, my wife wore jeans. She was a cowboy, you know, rodeo and so forth. But then later, it was many years later for just about everybody started wearing jeans. You wear jeans?
I don't, yeah, I do. Yeah, I wear jeans, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But when I was a kid, they were Levi's back when I was young. My brother and I, and my future daddy-in-law and another fellow were the only people around the little town of St. Ann out here in West Texas that wore Levi's back in those days. And so after the war, during the war, they were restricted. You know, that is, there wasn't too many of them made, so the only one you could, after the war, the only one that could get them people that wore them before. So my brother and I, and my future daddy-in-law and this other fellow was the only one, J.C. Penney, and them there that we didn't get to it for several years before we started, for the more of, you know, to catch up in the production.